morning, Lionhearts. Your old pal, Jordan the Lion. I'm fresh out of the shower. We're actually heading out of El Paso today, like I told you yesterday. So I want to go down, get some free breakfast downstairs, and we can come up, pack up, go out and do a little bit of a vlog, and then we're going to hit the airport. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. Oh yeah, check that out. A Texas-shaped waffle for breakfast. Well, shall we try the Cheerwine cola, whatever this is? Pop? Let's do it. You know what it reminds me of right off the bat? Anybody remember Cherry 7-Up? For some reason that's what it tastes like, Cherry 7-Up. Not bad. Alright, I'm all packed up and ready to go. Orlando should be here in a little bit to pick me up, and we're gonna head out to Fort Bliss Cemetery. It's obviously a military cemetery, and there's a very famous TV sitcom star buried there that we all know and probably love. One weird thing about this guy I actually had never heard, he actually recorded an album with the lead singer of Yes, the prog rock band Yes, John Anderson, and the album never came out. But that man that we are going to visit today was Mr. George Jefferson from All in the Family and the Jeffersons, Mr. Sherman Hemsley. All right, it's go time. So if you look right up here, looks like an elephant up there with its trunk popping up. You see that? Off to see George Jefferson. Look, the Sugar Castle. The Sugar House. There's Fort Bliss. Look at all those military vehicles. Wow. Well, here we are. Fort Bliss Cemetery. Well, here he is. All the way down on the end. Sherman Alexander Hemsley, U.S. Air Force. And then if you read below, it says peace and love to all mankind. That's right. George Jefferson was in the military. He was in the Air Force. A guy that we knew as being larger than life, over the top. He wasn't that way in real life at all, actually. He was extremely private, soft-spoken, and his history is that he basically grew up without a father. He didn't even meet his father till he was 14. He ditched high school, went into the Air Force, did a 4-year tour of the Air Force, and then when he came out, he had the money to attend the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in Philly, which is where he's from. El Paso is, the reason he's buried here is it's like his adopted hometown. So he enrolled in the academy, and while he was doing that, he got a job at the post office, actually. And he, you know, found this love in theater and ended up getting a transfer, requesting a transfer with the post office to go to New York City, where he could go and audition and be in plays and everything, which he did. He started in like a couple of touring companies that primarily stayed around that area, and then he got a role on Broadway. Now this is kind of the turning point in his career, but almost in a weird way, because he enjoyed doing what he was doing on Broadway, because he was a really fantastic singer. As far as, like, a lot of people don't know, he was a musician. He was like a jazz keyboardist, even made his own album. He was on Soul Train. I mean, he did all this stuff, but he got in a Broadway production where he got to sing. He had a couple of solos, and Norman Lear, the man who created so many famous TV shows, including, of course, All in the Family, had seen Sherman Hemsley and approached him and said, I would love for you to play Archie Bunker's neighbor. And Sherman Hemsley was just like, I love doing theater. I'm not sure I want to leave this. And so surprisingly, Norman Lear said, okay, well, I'll hold the role open for you. And 2 years later, he went and debuted as Archie Bunker's neighbor, George Jefferson of Jefferson Cleaners. And then 2 years after that, they did a spin-off with You know, George Jefferson moving on up to the east side to a deluxe apartment in the sky. They did that show for 11 years. He and Isabella Sanford got along like ridiculously well. In fact, when the show went off the air, they continued to do like a Broadway version of the Jeffersons, and then later on they brought it back like in the 90s and did the Jeffersons live on Broadway again. But yeah, he was just one of those guys that he was so likable. The only downside to him really was that he was so freaking good at George Jefferson that pretty much everything he got cast in after that would be that same type of role. He would be typecast as that guy, which, like I said, that wasn't really who he was, but he said, you know, that was the role, so you know, I had to play it that way. But he ended up afterward, almost as soon as the Jeffersons went off the air in '85, he joined Amen and played Deacon Fry, which I watched all the time. I loved that show. I thought it was hilarious. They did that show for like 5 years, and then he ended up doing the voice on the dinosaurs of Earl's boss. And so then he eventually just retired, and they would eventually, like, you know, he would be brought back for different shows, like portraying the Jeffersons, like on different commercials and selling different products. Like I remember Denny's commercials, and I think they were on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So anyway, he decides to retire. But apparently he wasn't that great with his money, because when he moved to El Paso, some people said it was like fleeing from Hollywood and getting a little bit of peace and quiet. But then they said his business partner said when he came to El Paso, he was basically penniless, and she was his business partner for 20 years. Now she comes into play pretty heavily because he lived in El Paso here and ended up dying in his house, and they said what had happened was he had been diagnosed with like a lump on his lungs that they said he should get treated with chemo for, and then he didn't, and it ended up killing him. Now when he died, he had a will, but a guy came out of the woodwork and claimed to be his brother and challenged the will. So before Sherman could be buried here, they had to go through these court proceedings, and he literally was at the funeral home on ice in a refrigerator for months while they went through this process. And in the end, his business partner, because she had been partners with him for like 20 years, the judge deemed her to be looking out for his best interest and granted her to have him buried here as opposed to being taken to Philly and being buried. So what a crazy story for poor old Sherman Hemsley. Guy was so lovable. I mean, there's just no question about it. The guy was so likable. Likable for being unlikable almost. He had that crazy walk and that crazy swagger, and man, it's just, you know, it's had a great career. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, he actually did he was a huge fan of prog rock, Gentle Giant, and one of his favorites was Yes, and he actually did a full album with John Anderson from Yes. It just never came out to my knowledge. Rest in peace, Mr. Jefferson. You earned it. Here he is, interned in a military cemetery, being acknowledged for his service. 4 years in the Air Force. Now, another famous person that's actually buried here was one of the Harlem Globetrotters, but we'll save that for another time. In the same year that Sherman Hemsley died, in 2012, they honored him by inducting him into the Television Hall of Fame. Now we're off to the airport. Time to fly back to the Joster. It says above there, it's a great day to be a soldier, Fort Bliss, Texas. I love this airport. I like that patina on the roof of everything, but it's funny, this reminds me a lot of actually a train station. Harold Lloyd would have loved those. Oh yeah, we're back and they're in the Christmas spirit. I did. Thank you. Okay, next stop, Los Angeles, City of Angels. Well, look where we're sitting, right on the wing. let's get home so I can get my car so we can go get Ja. I miss Ja. Now we just have to wait for our flyway back to Hollywood. All right, we're finally home. I've unpacked all my bags and I've got a present for Ja. Some string cheese to win him back over. He loves that stuff. And a present for Breck, a new Daze with Jordan the Lion t-shirt, but it's actually the Adventures of Jordan and Ja t-shirt. I hope he likes it. Well, let's go in and see Ja. Look who it is! Look who it is! Hi! Come here! Hi! You're excited, huh? Well, come here! Well, come say hi to me. You're excited? I don't suppose that you would want this, would you? Look at, you're using your paws. Hi. We'll hook you up. Ja, did you have fun with Breck? Everybody missed you in the vlog. Everybody missed you.
It's almost like it's the Ja vlog.
You did? You missed me? Look at that tail. What a wild man.
He's full of energy too because he just got up too.
So Breck got a little bit of mail for me. I was contacted by the Fairmount Police Department recently after my last trip out to Fairmount. I thought at first I was going to be in some trouble, but actually it was letting me know that they liked the video and that they had a few of these old shirts, these James Dean Fairmount Festival shirts, and wanted to send them to me along with Fairmount Police patch. Well, I also got another giant package here because I just have not been happy with that camera I bought about 3 or 4 months ago. And that last trip when I went to Poland, Spain, and London, that gave me just about every type of atmosphere, every type of lighting I could have in any situation, and I just decided I do not like that camera, so I have decided to change to Sony and see if the Sonys are any better. So that's what this is. So I'm switching over to the Sony a6500. Heading home. Well, Lionhearts, we're gonna call it a night. I wanted to send a big shout out, thank you to Tanari and Peter Angelopoulos for making contributions to my channel. And thank you all for watching and going to Texas with me. Ja's back here cashed out on the bed, so we'll see him tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you then. Goodbye.